Hi friends, it's Becky, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial showing you how to make this earring using some silver silk flat mesh and several different beads that we're going to brick stitch onto here and then embellish in order to turn it into a little earring. So the flat mesh that I'm going to be using is this amber colored flat mesh. This is kind of a specialty color. It's not normally in stock on Silver Silk & More, but sometimes when Nile does a pop-up shop, you'll get some cool colors that come along there. It's usually a good idea to snap those up because they may not be there for long. It was also available at Sam's Bead Shop. It was one of those colors that got put together for one of the Sam's Bead boxes as an accompaniment. But we're going to be using that because it's a great color to go with all of these moody grays and blacks from the Beads to Live By Curated Collections for September. There are these gray silver-lined opal beads. They are 8/0 seed beads that we're going to be using for our first level. And then for our second level, we have these Jet Picasso 6/0 seed beads. It's going to be our second level. And then we're going to be embellishing the ends with some 2-hole lentil beads. These came in the 2-hole bead subscription. And these orange-lined crystal 11/0 seed beads. For hardware, I am finishing it with some silver silk findings. This is the flat mesh crimp. We're just going to stuff the ends in and close it. And then I've got an ear wire that we'll be using to turn it into an earring. What you'll want to do is grab a beading needle. You don't need to really have a small beading needle because we're not going to be going through like tiny holes multiple times, so a larger beading needle is fine. And I'm just going to be using some 6-pound fireline in order to do the stitching. So what you want to do is cut about 4 inches, and this will be for each earring, 4 inches of flat mesh, thread your needle, and then we will get started brick stitching that. Once you've selected the part of the wire that you're going to start with, go ahead and put the needle through so you can get your thread in there. And you're going to want to leave enough of a tail that you can put a needle on the other end and weave it in. And I just tie an overhand knot at this point to keep the thread from slipping through. It's not a super secure thing. It's not the only way to secure it, but it just keeps that thread from moving as I'm going through here. So I'm going to start brick stitch by picking up 2 8/0 seed beads. And if you can see, we have these little sort of bumps in the knitting. I've got one bump here that I've got that tied into, and I'm just going to jump 2 bumps away and put my needle through that little loop there. Now this first part is going to be a little wonky. We will come back and attach this a little bit better on that side, so it's going to be tipped a little bit to the side until we come back and fix it afterwards. That's one of the reasons why we leave a tail, so that we can fix it afterwards with that. Let me move some of these things off of my desk so that they don't catch on things, because I don't need this tape measure until later. There we go. So that's the start of the brick stitch. And then I'm going to continue along here by picking up 1 of my seed beads, finding that next little bump. You want to make sure you get at least 2 legs of the knit stitch on that edge through the needle. And then once I've got it on there, I'm going to sew right back up through that bead that I just placed. And it puts it right smack dab on the edge, right where I want it to be. Let's do another one a little bit closer. So I picked up my 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go through here. And then sew back up through that seed bead. You can pinch the seed bead and the flat mesh to hold it still so it doesn't go rattling around with the rest of the thread while you're pulling it through. That can be really helpful. Let's do one more just to reinforce. And you see how the thread isn't super visible from the sides? It's just a little bit visible, but not a lot. It does keep it very cleanly onto this flat mesh edge, and it makes it look kind of smooth. And then you keep going until you are almost to the end, but you still want to leave about 1/4 of an inch on the other end so that there's something for the crimp to grab onto when you twist it up into, or you bend it up into its teardrop shape. Now it's a good idea after you're done with this and have that all the way around that you make note of how many beads you used so that you can use the same amount on your second earring so they match. And then there's a couple of things that we need to do before we can start stitching on the rest of those beads. The first is my initial bead is a little bit wonky because that's the nature of starting this out. And I'm just going to grab another needle. This is the reason why we want to leave enough of a tail to weave that in. And this is just a wide-eye needle. This is a really good application for using wide-eye needles. I want to go up through that bead, down around the outside, and through the flat mesh right next to it. And that just gives me a little bar of thread that's helping secure that end to the flat mesh. And then to get the rest of this sort of more secured, I'm just going to zigzag my way through these brick stitched beads, going up and down. And I'm going to go about 5 or 6 beads in from the end. And then I'm going to reverse direction and zigzag back. And that's just going to put some tension on the thread and keep it from unraveling. Now that thread is not going to be in the way, and I won't have to deal with it while I am cutting everything else. I'm going to end up doing the same sort of thing here to this bead on the end with my needle, but before I do that, I want to get this crimped in my flat mesh crimp. And so I'm going to hold both sides of my flat mesh together. And one of the tools that I like using for this are these tweezer nose pliers because I can get a nice sharp bend in the end of my flat mesh. Smush those two ends together. Get those two bits there. And then smush this as flat as I can. Both of those bits together. They've been folded over. Tighten that up so I don't have bits of wire sticking out the sides of my crimp. And then I'm going to stick my crimp on. And then I am going to clamp that down using my wide nose pliers. Just give that a smush. Now that's securely on there. And now when I go back around here with my second layer of brick stitch, it'll already be in the curve that I want it to be, and I won't have to fight with it in order to get it to stay curved or be curved after brick stitching it flat. I would much rather brick stitch it this way. All right. So now that I'm coming up out of there, I'm just going to loop underneath. Whoops. That was not what I meant to do. Well, that's okay, because I was just going to do the same thing on this side that I did over there, except I am way too close to this bead. All right. Just securing that end with another little piece of thread. All right, so now let's get these two 6/0 seed beads, and I'm not going to go through this next thread bridge. I'm going to go through the thread bridge just a little ways down from there, and I'll be securing that a little bit better on my way back, because I am going to be coming back all the way around here, so it'll be at the very end. And then we're going to continue brick stitch. We're going to pick up a 6/0 seed bead, go through that thread bridge. It's that thread that's between each of these 8/0s. And we are going to, because the 6/0s are bigger than 8/0s, we are going to have to probably skip a couple of thread bridges as we go, but you'll be able to tell when you get there that that's not the thread bridge for you. Like, that one's a little bit too close. Let's see if this one will work better for me. And I think this one does. It's just something to keep an eye on as you go down and around, because we're going to go all the way around to the other side, doing that same thing, grabbing our 6/0s, going through a thread bridge above the 8/0, and then going back up into the 6/0 to secure it on for that second layer of brick stitch. So when I get all the way around to the other end, I'll meet you back there, and we'll start adding our lentils on. All right, so here we are just about at the end. I just have my last 6/0 seed bead to put through this brick stitch. I'm just putting it through that last thread bridge. It's going to extend over a little bit over the edge of my work, and that is totally fine. But I'm going to take this end here. I'm going to go back into that 8/0 below it to help secure that end on there. Go back through this second 8/0 next to it, and then come up here once more. So I'm coming out of that 6/0. And now we're going to start adding our lentils. The lentils are an embellishment, so they don't need to be super structural, but we're also going to be adding the 11/0s at the same time. So I'm going to put my needle through one of the holes in the 2-hole lentil beads, pick up 3 11/0s, slide this down, and then I'm going to go through the second hole of that lentil bead and into the next 6/0. You see that just pops that up right there with the little picot. I'm going to go up into the 6/0 next to that. So I'm coming out of it. I'm going to want to add another lentil bead. So I'm going to go through one hole of my lentil, pick up 3 11/0s, push that down. Then I'm going to go back into that second 6/0 from the end, the one that I just went down into again the first time. And this way I'll have these lentils, and it's totally okay that they're sitting askew like that. It gives them sort of a layered, scaly look. It's going to be like basically one lentil over each bridge of these 6/0s. So I'm going to want to come back up into this next 6/0, and I'm going to be putting a lentil here between this one and that one. So on some of these I will be going to the left, and some of them I'll be going back to the right when I do my second hole on my lentils. It all depends on where I end up. Down into that 6/0. And then up into this next 6/0, and this is the one where I'll be going from left to right when I do it. One, two, three. Left to right, go back into that same, whoop. I have to push the lentil down first before I go into that 6/0 so that I can go through the second lentil hole and then go into the 6/0. There we go, second lentil hole, and then down into that 6/0. And then up the next 6/0. And then this one I'm going to go from right to left. When I place my next lentil, pick up the lentil, 1, 2, 3. That lentil next to it. Again, I'm going right to left, so I'm going to go through that sunk little hole in the lentil and then into that next 6/0 right there. See how they kind of lean up against all the other ones? I like that. And then going up into the next one. And this one's going to be a left to right. So I'm going to put the lentil on, and then I'm going to go into the one to the right of me. Lentil, 3 seed beads. I'm going to do this in that way all the way around to the very end, either going to the left or to the right, depending on how I got there. I actually needed to go through the lentil first, so I'm going to try and back my thread out. Oh, and it caught underneath some thread, so let's just go through there. Second hole in the lentil, and then go through your 6/0. It's going to be real easy to forget. Alright, And I'm going to repeat that all the way until I get to the other side, and then I'll show you how to finish. All right, so here we are at the last one. This is the last 6-0, and I'm just going to go up through that last 6-0. It's a little bit wobbly because it isn't secured to the next one below it, but we'll do that in just a minute after I get my last lentil on here. So I'm going to pick up the lentil, pick up my seed beads, put this through here. Again, that was moving to the right. And now I'm going to go down into the 8-0 underneath that 6-0. And up. Up through this 6-0, or the 8-0 and the 6-0. And then back just down through the 8-0. That's just gonna extra secure that 6-0 all the way on there. And now I can weave through my 8-0s like I did when I was weaving in my tail. Just zigzag back and forth. A few times. And then go back, flip it, reverse it. Right. And once that's all done, I can cut off my thread. Burn that down if you want. Then I am just going to open up my ear wire, attach it to my silver silk finding, let Ellen know that I absolutely love her. She is a little bit sad today because my son is away visiting family and she misses him. There we go. Now we have some flat mesh and seed bead earrings, and we made this using the September Curated Collections from Beads to Live By. I'm going to put links in the description to where you can find silver silk, links to where you can sign up for the Curated Collections, or you can find the collection available for purchase. Outside of that, I think the subscription is actually, you get a discount as a subscriber from what you would do if you were purchasing them separately, but all of those beads are available for purchase in the extras on Beads to Live By. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a fantastic night, fantastic weekend, and I will talk with you later. Happy beading!